Our society has countless images, ideas, and stereotypes about change agents. People who help an organization transform by improving business process and interpersonal interactions. Whether influencing fashion, business, art, entertainment, science, politics, or law, these change agents have and continue to positively impact today's society on so many levels. And today, we are proud to share the story of these business owners, coaches, innovators, and thought leaders from various industries who are eager to educate, inspire, and motivate you. This is Our Voices on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Welcome to Our Voices, powered by Nassau Community College Foundation. My name is Natasha Nurse. I'm the owner and co-founder of Dressing Roommate, co-host of Woke and Free, and the lifestyle editor of Plus Model magazine. And this show is focused on highlighting the amazing work of powerful change agents who have a great message to share with the world. And today, I'm really excited to be speaking with Keith Kirkland, co-founder and head of sales and haptics for WearWorks. So what is WearWorks? It's a company that builds and builds products and experiences that communicate information through touch. Their first product, WAYBAND, is a haptic navigation device for the blind and visually impaired, and it is used to help a person who is blind run the first 15 miles of the New York City Marathon without any sighted assistance. And Keith is a mechanical engineer, accessories designer, and industrial designer with experience developing innovation-based concepts and experiences. He has worked with organizations ranging from the Met Museum, the Cooper Hewitt Design Museum, Unilever, Futureworks, Discovery Channel, TED, Dropbox, the Yokohama Government, Coach, and National Science Foundation. And he's deeply excited about reimagining the future of tactile design while expanding the human ability to sense the environment. And so without further ado, Keith, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you.
Yes, that is quite a bio. I love it. It's quite a mouthful. So, right out of the gate, I'd love for you to share with everyone, how did you kind of become the person you are today?
And so I guess, depending on how far we want to go back, but, I kind of started, I was, born and raised in Camden, New Jersey. And so, after I left Camden, I went and did mechanical engineering studies at Rutgers University in New Brunswick. After a few months of working as an engineer, I decided I didn't want to be an engineer necessarily anymore. And so I got really excited about shoe design. And so I re-enrolled into a bachelor's program at the Fashion Institute of Technology and moved to New York. And that's where I started studying shoemaking, got really, really interested in handbag design along the way. And then I kind of came out and got a few jobs working in the industry, kind of mainly with Coach, doing some handbag engineering there for a few years. After working for a few years, I was really excited about the work that I was doing. And I was also excited to kind of, use design in a way that could forward humanity. So I took a sabbatical from Coach, went and got a master's degree in industrial design from Pratt Institute in Brooklyn. While I was there, did some studying at a university called Keio University in Japan and the Royal College of Arts and Imperial College in London, and kind of came back and got really interested in this idea of like wearable technology, like combining this fashion with kind of the technological component and kind of like the social good component. And so I spent my thesis year working on a concept. I was trying to build a suit that would allow a user to download Kung Fu, and the suit would teach him Kung Fu. And that's how I got into this idea of haptics, because I was trying to figure out how to use vibration to communicate information through touch. And after I graduated, my co-founders and I connected. We were all friends in the program at Pratt. So we had known each other quite well, and we had done some previous work together. Kevin, my co-founder, and I, we worked together at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in their media lab, and Young and I were classmates. We graduated together. And so we kind of all came up with this idea that we wanted to start a company around designing and developing products that communicate information through touch that use haptics. And so we initially set out, and the Kung Fu suit was really cool, but it had a lot of technical challenges that needed to kind of be solved over time. And so we decided to start with something simpler, which was navigation. It was a more simplified form of movement, and more importantly, the the biggest challenge with the suit was if I want you to raise your wrist 2 inches off the table using vibration, how do I communicate that to you? We realized that work hadn't been done because there was no language to communicate information with through touch. And so we set out to create that language. And so navigation became our first attempt at creating that language. Like, how can we create an experience that is purely touch-based that would allow a person to navigate from where they are to where they need to go without the need for any visual or audio cues. And so that was a challenge we kind of set ourselves to, and we started the company kind of like with that goal in mind of navigating people with the touch.
Now, did you or any of your co-founders have any connection to the blind or visually impaired population? Like, how did you combine both wanting to make a product that involved that type of technology and then specifically benefiting that population?
Yeah, so Kevin actually had a connection with a mentor of ours now, Marcus Engel. Marcus Engel is an author and a public speaker, and he's also blind. And he spent a lot of time talking about like the healthcare industry, particularly from the point of view of being a blind person going through that experience. He's written a few books about it. And so Kevin had saw him speak, and so the idea for doing a blind navigation device was definitely on our radar. But it was also ridiculously challenging. When we first started out, we weren't even sure that we could navigate someone using only vibration. It was all kind of like speculative design. We figured out some concepts, and we figured that it might work. And so we actually raised our first bit of money, not actually knowing whether the technology actually worked or not yet. And so the idea of starting with a community of people who are blind or people who have visual impairments was a big challenge for us because potentially it was the hardest user to design for. And so we were like, let's try this first with people who have sight, get the technology perfected, and then eventually the third or fourth product will be a product that will help blind and visually impaired people navigate. But along the way, of course, life has a way of showing you the path that you refuse to acknowledge sometimes. And along the way, we were at South by Southwest, and a random person that we pulled out of the crowd to try our device out happened to be a teacher for the Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired. And when he tried the device, he was like, oh my God, you have to take this to the blind school. And so Kevin and I, we were down there, we were leaving that night. We basically just packed everything up at that moment because we had been talking about the potentials for the blind use case for such a long time that something falling directly into our lap like that seemed like we needed to kind of take advantage of it while we were here. And so we packed up our booth early and we ran over to the Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired. And when we got there, they were closed because it was spring break, you know. But we met with the superintendent while we were there, and it turns out the Texas Department for Blind Services was right around the corner. And so we walked over there. We met some people in the parking lot and kind of like told them what we were trying to do. And after they tried the device, usually we have to make people spin around so they can feel the experience. And apparently making people spin around also makes them become your friends, because the minute people spin around, they're just like, oh my God, this is amazing. Here's what you need. And so we ended up with an audience with the assistant commissioner. And he gave us about 4 hours of his day. He let us borrow his office. We took some of his employees who had visual impairments and who had blindness, and we showed them the device, and we like video. We talked to them to kind of see what they thought of it and what they thought it needed. And you know, I think that was kind of like, you know, like that was like one of those moments for us where like everything shifted. You know, like as co-founders, you know, like we often don't agree on the best path to take, and so when we actually do agree, it's a really great solution. Because we all, you know, we're willing to fight for what it is that we believe, because we're all trying to make the best product. And so when we walked out of that meeting, we were just all kind of independently clear. Because like when we give the device to people, one of the things was that we wanted to be able to allow them, we wanted to build it in a way that people could just figure out which way was the right way to go without any instructions. And so that was a part of the design, was like, how can we make this so intuitive? And so most people can figure out which way is the right way to go in about 10 seconds. And when people figure it out, they get this, you know, I solved the puzzle look on their face. Like, I did it. I figured it out. You know, like, but when we give it to a person who's blind, who has a visual impairment, and they figure out which way is the right way to go, there's like a light that shows up in their eyes that's more than just, oh, I figured it out. It's kind of like, I understand which way is the right way to go. And I think that was really powerful for all of us. And so when we walked out, we're like, hey, this is the hardest thing we could possibly do. But if we're able to do this for people who have a blindness or a visual impairment, then all the other applications that we wanted to use this technology for, you know what I'm saying, well, the evidence will be clear that we can do it for those cases as well. And so we all just kind of like shift gears and like, okay, let's focus on delivering the best possible solution we can to the blind and visually impaired community, knowing that the trickle-down effect is going to affect everyone who uses a haptic navigation device at some point in the future.
Absolutely. You are listening to Our Voices on the Voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. My name is Natasha Nurse, and my guest today is Keith Kirkland, co-founder and head of sales and haptics for WearWorks. So, Keith, that's an incredible story. That's it's like kind of kismet, essentially, of you were doing something else, and it led to this like really incredible opportunity. And so far, like where are you at from a product perspective and getting it to the community? Can people currently buy it? What's the deal?
Yeah, so we're actually putting all of that together now. So where we are right now from a product point of view is back in 2017, you mentioned we used the device to help the first blind person compete 15 miles of the New York City Marathon without sighted assistance. And that was kind of like a remarkable feat for us. It was, you know, the first time it had been done. It kind of like it made a really powerful proof case of what haptics could do. But during that marathon, we also found a lot of challenges with the device that we needed to solve for before we could bring it to become a commercially viable product. And so for the past year, we've been working on those challenges, figuring out kind of like how to better design the user experience for people who have blindness and visual impairments. One of the things that was really interesting for us is like when we talked to the National Federation of the Blind and we showed them our initial devices, they loved what we were doing, but they told us, like, don't build a blind device. Build a device that everyone can use, but that's optimized for the blind experience. And so one of the things that we've been doing is we've been focusing a lot on the aesthetics and the visuals of the product because we understand that our community, to reach the blind community at the scale that we want, you know, we also have to address the entire community of all people who might want to navigate in a different way. And so we're launching a Kickstarter campaign. So the device isn't currently available for sale yet, but it will be. We're launching a Kickstarter campaign coming up, and the goal is to sell about 300 to 400 initial units and to kind of build that first market and build that first testing. And so that's coming up, you know, in a bit of time. And then after, let's see. Right, sorry, I just wanted to make sure I'm touching on the right questions. So the product. Yeah, so that's the main point of the product right now, or that's the main goal of the product of where we are, is like getting everything ready for the Kickstarter, which is all consuming at this point.
Absolutely. So just to get the kind of the awareness out there, if people were interested in checking out the Kickstarter when it does go live, where would they go?
So they can go to www.WEAR.works, WORKS. And right on the homepage when the Kickstarter launches, we'll have all of the details, and you can just click on a link to go directly to the site to purchase. Absolutely.
And in addition to that, I hope everyone looks at the website and checks it out, because it sounds like it's a very, very cool opportunity for all people, right? Like you're saying, it's a product that if you're just interested in navigating a different way, you said, right? Then all people could use it. Very, very cool. Okay.
Yeah,
you are listening to Our Voices. My name is Natasha Nurse. More with my guest, Keith Kirkland, co-founder and head of sales and haptics for WearWorks, next on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Our Voices on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. My name is Natasha Nurse, and my guest today is Keith Kirkland, co-founder and head of sales and haptics for WearWorks. So Keith, I'd love to know a little bit more about kind of your entrepreneurial journey with WearWorks. Like when you guys set out to create this company and kind of do such social good that you are going to be doing with this product and all the other products that you design, kind of what was your biggest challenge, like trying to do this and kind of, because you made different shifts in your career, right? So what were some of the fears that you dealt with and some of the biggest challenges that you've dealt with down this journey?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing around this kind of entrepreneurial journey is that it's so much harder than you think, and you think it's hard when you're going to do it, but it's nowhere near, like, it's way harder than that. And I think that naivety that you have as a new founder is so ridiculously important to the process, because I think that, like, if people really understood the scale of what they were involving themselves into, like, most people wouldn't even begin down this path. And so for us, and, me and my co-founders, this was our first company, and so we all kind of walked into this with, we had a strong sense of design. Like me and all of my co-founders, we all have backgrounds in design. Me and my other co-founder also have a background in mechanical engineering. So, we have kind of like building stuff, making stuff, testing stuff, prototyping stuff, user testing stuff. Like those were the skills that we kind of had innate and that we could leverage really easily to create the experiences that we needed to. But there was a lot of skills that we didn't have coming into this, that we had to develop over time, like understanding marketing, understanding, finance and like business strategy, like organizing a team and understanding how to best deliver, to manage someone else so that you can get work out of them. Like these were all pain points that kind of came up along the way. And, we do kind of the way we do. And I think the way all entrepreneurs do is kind of like your vision is bigger than obstacles that stand in your way. And so what you do is whatever you don't know, you figure out some way to figure out, and I think one of the greatest things that we've been able to do as a team is that we've been able to attract really wonderful people who believe in us and who see the vision that we have for the future and have some kind of commitment, personal interest, a personal stake in helping us execute on that vision. And so that has been amazing. The idea of kind of just like, touching base with people and like getting people to like mentor us in the areas that we're lacking in. So yeah, that was a skill set that took some time to learn and some time to understand is really how to understand what we're good at and how to understand what we're not good at and how to figure out how to get good at what we're not good at.
Absolutely. And when it comes to kind of making that shift in your career, did you, what were some of the resources that you used to say, okay, now I think I'm going to invest in me, I'm going to build something for myself or with, my team members? What were some key things that you did to kind of get the party started?
Yeah, and so the first thing is it's kind of like when we graduated, of course we were all looking for jobs. It's kind of what you do when you graduate, and because I had 2 prior degrees, and I was a bit older than my co-founders. I was kind of pretty clear that I wanted to do something that was around creating my own path, and so for me personally, the steps that we kind of took to get into the space was really around trying to figure out and applying for things. The way we started the company initially, we were trying to pitch this idea to Intel, which they had a TV show called America's Greatest Maker, which was a wearable technology based television show, and we were like, okay, cool, we're going to do wearable technology. And so we formed a whole company around the application for America's Greatest Maker.
Oh, wow.
We ended up not getting accepted. And then we took that information that we had built that application with, and we turned it around and used the, basically the bulk of it for back then what was called Next Top Maker, which was it's a Second Muse and the New York City Economic Development Corporation, the NYC EDC, kind of came together to create this program that was supposed to facilitate startups in the hardware space to grow in New York City. And so we kind of came in, luck has a lot to do with a lot of, entrepreneur ventures, but being prepared for that luck. And so when the luck shows up that you're actually in a space to take advantage of the opportunity. And as it so happened, New York was gearing up to kind of become the hardware version of Silicon Valley. And so us being in a hardware space, we naturally fell in line to some of the initiatives that the city had. And so we were accepted into the Next Top Maker program. Through that kind of connection in that community, we spent 6 months with them. They gave us office space. They gave us access to mentors around understanding IP and legal stuff, to design for manufacturing, to how to set up a 5-year projections and pro formas. And so we got that training being part of this incubator program that was meant to help foster innovation in the hardware space. And so I think the first thing that, you can always do when you want to kind of step out into this path is look to see who's excited about the work that you're doing. A lot of the money that we've eventually raised has come from grants, which is, federal money. We were a National Science Foundation recipient, state money, local money to help support, co-founders of color, so there are lots of different initiatives and programs on, especially right now in this space, and especially in the space around diversity, social impact, and inclusion, and accessibility. And so we kind of hit at an intersection of a lot of those points, and we're able to take advantage of all the opportunities that were in the space. So that's kind of how we got our first start. It's kind of we got a grant that gave us a bit of money to kind of help us. It wasn't anything to live off of, but it gave us enough that we could build our first prototypes with. But even more, it gave us the confidence that someone else believed in us other than just us. And that was almost even more valuable than the money that we got.
Gotcha. Okay. You are listening to Our Voices on the Voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. My name is Natasha Nurse, and my guest today is Keith Kirkland, co-founder and head of sales and haptics for WearWorks. So Keith, your story is incredible. The work that you're doing is phenomenal. I guess what is some advice that you have, additional advice maybe, for people who are interested in not just, wanting to be an entrepreneur, right? Because that's such a buzzword. It's so everyone's an entrepreneur, but but wanting to kind of do what you're doing, right? Which is the kind of beautiful intermixing of doing entrepreneurship and innovation, but then also really maybe transforming the lives of people who are visually impaired or blind or have some type of need that's not being met right now. What can others do to kind of not replicate what you're doing, but also to think in line of what social good could their business do potentially?
Yeah, and so I think one of the biggest things is it really starts with self, and in this case, self is 3 people because we run the company together, and so we had lots of conversations around what we wanted, not just as a product or as a company, but how we wanted to live life. One of the biggest things is that I see our company as a vehicle to basically create the lives that we want to live. And that's almost more the important thing than, of course we would love to be eventually $1 billion company, right? But ultimately, like, what we're really trying to get at is we're really trying to create a space that we love coming to every single day, and that the people who work with us love coming to every single day. And so I guess kind of like moving along the path, or trying to start out in this space, it really needs to come from something that's really personally interesting to you, because, like I said, this path is really challenging, and it's going to test and force you to grow in ways that you never expected. And the only thing that pushes you through that willingness to do that work of redefining who you are is how convicted or how committed you are to the vision that you first began on. Like, how important is that vision being true to you? And so I guess, the biggest thing I can say is find something that you really love. A lot of people, what they do is they start companies in areas that they think are hot because the money might be there, but the money is eventually going to dry up, because that's how we are. We like one thing, and then eventually, like, the whole market shifts and everyone likes a new thing, right? And so you're going to be in this venture for, 5 to 7 years of your life. Like, we've been in it for 3.5 now, and, I had no idea that it would take this long to do the kind of work that we were doing, but also that comes from that naivete that we had in the beginning. We had no idea how long anything would take, so,
Gotcha. Yeah.
but now having that understanding of, this is a 7-year venture for you. So it really needs to speak to, like, some personal part of you that is really excited to wake up and grind this thing out every single day, to deal with the setbacks, to deal with the no's, to deal with the people who don't believe, to deal with the disagreements amongst your team, to have a vision that's clear enough that you can paint for people who have never thought of your idea to walk away believing that your idea is the best thing that has ever happened. It's like, I feel like that takes a certain level of confidence and belief in yourself, and I don't think that I think that people who pick things that they're personally deeply interested in or impacted by have a tendency of doing the best from a work point of view. That's my personal opinion.
Love it. Yeah.
So like, find something that you love. Like, making money is relatively easy. There's a billion ways to make money. It's like, I used to tell people, I'm like, hey, like, the shirt you're wearing, someone designed that and they got paid. And the buttons on that shirt, someone made those buttons and they got paid. Someone like drew the cotton and got paid. Someone stitched the shirt together, they got paid. Someone shipped the shirt to you, dyed the cotton. Like, every step of the way, somebody got paid. But finding something that you love, that you can stick with until you can get paid, is like, that's the challenge.
Absolutely.
And so that's what I would say is, like, start with a place that you love, and just be willing to dig in and figure it out. Like, it'll all come. It's all a long game, and you have to have a lot of patience, and you have to really surround yourself with the right people that support and believe in what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, when you're out of energy, those are going to be the people that make you want to get up tomorrow and get back out there and try it again. It's all about, like, our commitment to our team is, like, why we work so hard.
Yes, absolutely, Keith. Thank you so much for sharing your incredible story and your business. And I definitely, again, encourage everyone to check out the website, Champion You. And I just really thank you for coming on 90.3 WHPC.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful being here. Absolutely.
I hope our audience found you both as informative and inspiring as I did. My name is Natasha Nurse. I'm the proud host of Our Voices here on 90.3 WHPC. Our show's creative director is Rudy J. Breedy. Visit nccradio.org. That's www.nccradio.org for more information. This will be available as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcast, and Spreaker. Our Voices is powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.